solid. Well, what's up, everybody? Yeah, welcome back to TBN. TBN, yeah. I see you guys there in the chat. I saw Sex King Phil's here. I saw Mallory Gates is here. Advocate of the month, Mallory Gates. Welcome, you guys. This is the live stream where we focus down on arguably the most important critical thing that we do as a community, and that is, let's run down the list: news, advocacy, science, policy, legislation, smoking, harm reduction, something else, I'm sure. Yeah, and we're going to talk. That's what we do here. I am your freedom-enjoying, poor libertarian host, GrimmGreen, now joined for a long time now, Danielle Jones. A long time. It's the far-left fact-checker, Danielle Jones. In fact, I want to embarrass Danielle Jones because this stream has gone through a lot of different changes. I used to just do Tuesday Bro Tuesday as like a pre-recorded thing, and then it started being a live stream, and then it was a live call-in show, and then we became Tuesday Bro Newsday, and now this incarnation of TBN with Danielle Jones and myself is far and away my favorite version of this particular stream. You bring so much to us, you bring so much information, so much knowledge to us, and honestly just different points of view. And I know that you and I don't always see eye to eye on the majority of things, but
for sure,
just the fact that we can be friends and do this stream and still have the discussion, have the conversation.
Oh yeah.
I love that. It brings me a lot of joy to have you here. So round of applause. Danielle Jones, everybody. It's Danielle Jones. Come on. Give her. She's a busy person. She's the president of CASAA. CASAA does their own stream that you're a part of as well.
So to be fair, their Saturday stream, which if you guys aren't subscribed to CASAA on YouTube, do me a solid.
Definitely.
Please. They're putting out some excellent content. I'm trying to help them up the YouTube game, cool thumbnails, all kinds of chapters. So it is a long format show, similar to the vlog or TBN, but I got chapters in there so you can hop around, if you don't necessarily. Check it out, you guys. They stream live, usually with very exciting guests.
Yeah.
Every Saturday. I want to say that is Saturday, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. Do your time zone math for yourself, but I can tell you it's 1:30 p.m. Pacific. And we've also, which I am helping out with a lot, have started doing a Twitter space every other Wednesday. CASAA has a live Twitter space, and we record them so you can come back later and listen to them on Twitter if you are so inclined. But we've had some really great guests on that as well. So please check us out on Twitter, YouTube, whatever you want.
Like, comment, subscribe. It's good. Yeah. And it's a good stream, and it's been good, and I've been trying to catch them. And it always, whenever I go on Twitter on a Saturday, I'm like, oh, the CASAA live stream, and it's always the replay. Always the replay. I always just miss it. Damn it, I always just miss it.
The regular hosts of the we call it the podcast, but the stream on Saturdays is Alex, our CEO, Alex Clark, who's amazing.
Wonderful.
Kristen, who we adore. She is our membership coordinator and runs most of our social media accounts. So if you talk to CASAA on Twitter or Facebook, you're talking to Kristen.
Yep.
And then last but definitely not least is Logan Exhales. He is one of the hosts of that as well. So it's the three of them, and they always have super interesting guests and stuff. So there's we had a former Harvard behavioral scientist on the other week.
Yeah.
You guys should totes check that one out. Last week we just had Wayne from DIY or Die and Jennifer Winstead on talking about DIY and how that can be an option for vapors who are losing access to the reduced harm products that they need in their area. So that is a really awesome one. We had one on the synthetic nicotine ban. What happened?
That one was really good.
Please check it out, guys.
Yeah.
Do me a solid and check it out. They only got a couple hundred views, so come on.
More people.
More
knowledge.
people, please.
Look,
more knowledge.
I know. I agree. Let's get them over there. It's a good stream.
I vouch for them.
I vouch. Please. Yeah, I'll vouch for CASAA any day of the week. CASAA's the organization that I've always had their back, and they've always had my back. And I feel like I grew up with CASAA a little bit, because I remember pre-CASAA days. And I remember CASAA, and it was like, oh, good.
Yeah, thank God for you.
We have a thing, Yeah. Oh, thank God. Yeah. Love it. Well, listen, we're here today to I don't know, be mad a little bit, be frustrated a little bit, I've just Tuesday TBN days always put me in like a little bit of a weird mood and like a weird headspace, because throughout the rest of the week I'm like keeping up on things and reading and tweeting and stuff, but then on TBN days it's like this is the day where you have to really sink your teeth into it and really talk about it, and the more I think about it and talk about it, it just makes me so mad. I just keep getting so frustrated, so angry, and there's so many times where you're like, why do I even bother with this shit? Like, you get so frustrated. So with that said, I'm in a little bit of a weird mood today, but I don't want that to detract from the news that we have to talk about. We're going to be talking about the National Youth Tobacco Survey today. CDC did their yearly National Youth Tobacco Survey for 2021. The results finally, yeah. How long were we waiting for this data? Months, it seems like.
So usually they put it out in like the late fall. So early fall, August-y, we get like the prelim, the teaser data. And they did that, right?
Right.
And then usually we wait like a month, maybe 2, and then we get their full report, right? Their report.
Right.
No, we just got it like, 2 weeks ago or something. Like we usually get it in like September, October, and we just got it. So
severe delays at
super
CDC.
Delayed. Yeah, but it's finally out. We also just got the 2020, because this always lags an extra year behind, 2020 National Health Interview Survey, which is also done by CDC, and that is where we get our adult data from. So NYTS is for the chillins, the youths, and then National Health Interview Survey is for the adults.
The babies.
So we have 2020, they lag behind, and then 2021 for the kids.
It's here, and the data's here, and it's not terribly shocking.
I mean, if you're us, it's not, right?
If
like,
you're
there's
us,
it's not super little interesting things in there, but by and large, it's kind of an "I told you so" situation. little bit of
a little bit.
Look at that. Didn't I predict that?
Except they're not looking at that, Danielle. That's the problem. They're not.
That's the problem. And that's what we will talk about.
And that's what we're going to talk about today. So we got some hot National Youth Tobacco Survey action. I want to talk about, just mention some rallies that happened in Mexico. Share that. It was really cool. And I do want to talk about China as well, because it's like the sky is falling again.
Right.
Because we haven't had the sky fall in a few weeks, so the sky needed to fall again.
It's due. So our sky falling quota is not full.
Yeah, it's due. It's past due. And then as soon as like any of this news from China comes out, you all instantly see people on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and YouTube with just like the death of vaping. It's finally happening. It's finally happening. The death of vaping. It's not. Okay. It's not. So stop saying that. So please stop saying that. We're going to get into it. We're going to talk about China. And I also, in fact, first thing, this isn't something I'm going to read, but I wanted to throw this article out here because it's really, really good. This is from Reason. Did you read this article by chance?
Yeah, I did.
Whoa. Who will be the first person to go to prison for selling flavored e-cigarettes? And it paints a really very scary future of what possibly could happen in the United States with vaping products. And they make all sorts of references, like it could happen in Massachusetts where they have XYZ and they've already busted, all of these black markets. I think it's going to be a matter of time before we see like vape shops getting raided and people being arrested for selling vapes.
I mean, it is. So what people have to kind of understand is that it wouldn't be, if this is going to happen, it's not going to be FDA, right? We're not talking about FDA. What we're talking about is the states, so your individual states, passing their own legislation, which has been happening, is already happening, basically making laws. It's a variety of different things, right? They'll just do flavor bans, or they'll say, perhaps if it's not approved, if it's not gotten an authorized, or it's not pending in the PMTA process, then it's not legal. They'll do that kind of things. And basically what that means is that once they pass those laws in their own state, then they're enforcing them, right? You're not waiting on FDA, who, I mean, let's be real. They're going to send you a letter, and then they're going to send you another letter, and then there's probably going to be another letter. And then,
FDA loves letters.
Right. So that is like, that's the sort of, that's that situation. When you get down to the state level, it can be very different, right? It depends on the law written and who's in charge of enforcing it. But they have access to state police when they're,
cops
they've got
with guns,
state, right? Or if you're talking taxes or something like that, that's some potentially ATF and those guys, FDA doesn't run around carrying guns and handcuffs, right? But police do, and ATF does, right? So when you get into some of the state legislation, that's where you'd be seeing these potential arrests, like people actually going to jail for stuff.
It boggles my mind that, I mean, how do we get people, like the general public, to see how silly this is? The idea that there's, and look, this isn't maybe a little bit of whataboutism, but it's like there's a lot going on in the world. Is the best use of enforcement to stake out these little bodegas that might be selling 50 packs of illegal cigarettes? Is that where we should be spending our money and time and energy, is staking out bodegas to make these minor little tiny busts
for adults who are trying
to not smoke cigarettes?
I mean,
that's just where we're at.
Hell no.
Hell no. Of course. Hell no.
No. How about you go find murderers?
Yeah.
Murderers and, I don't know, robbers and rapists and people like that.
Violent crime or crime affects, has a victim. Vaping is a victimless crime.
Yeah.
Victimless.
I don't even think it should be called a crime. Like, what are we talking about here?
We're talking about quitting smoking with technology?
That's illegal.
It wasn't, but it suddenly became.
Yeah, but suddenly
so now all these previously law-abiding citizens are now criminals.
Which also to me is like, no. Like, I feel like you shouldn't get to do that. Like, today, it's totally fine, and we've been doing it for years.
Right.
But tomorrow, no more.
Tomorrow, it's definitely going to be illegal.
I don't like that.
I don't like that either, but I mean, and it runs in the same, it's like in California when they were lifting the mask mandates. There was one day where there is a mask mandate, and the next day there isn't. So I'm sorry, when you go into Trader Joe's on the day that there is still a mask mandate, you still have to wear your mask despite the mandate being gone tomorrow. If you don't want to wear a mask, come back tomorrow.
Right.
There has to be that, like, that weird line where it's like, tomorrow I don't have to wear a mask. Why do I have to today? It's like, that's just because.
Yeah.
There has to be a line. There has to be that, I don't know. There has to be that separation. Anyway, so I don't know. Maybe someone will go to jail. People will probably go to jail. I don't feel like that would be a very good look.
I don't either. I think that is probably terrible. I mean, if you want to talk about business owners who are violating the law and are caught selling to underage users.
Totally different.
I mean, I have thoughts on that. I'm still not sure if jail is the appropriate place for that, but I agree with fines potentially. And this is me speaking personally, by the way. I'm speaking for myself. In my opinion, I think fines are appropriate for that. I think potentially revoking business licenses is appropriate for that. If you have to have a tobacco license to sell in a particular state and you are caught repeatedly, and willfully selling to minors, perhaps you don't get to have that license anymore and you no longer get to be a store that sells those products. Like, I don't see a problem with that. Do that. I don't know that you need to go to jail for that. I'm not going to support that. Fines and losing licenses,
liens,
losing
licenses,
licenses, right? Being unable to
100%.
operate that type of business. I agree with those things.
Yeah.
My issue with prison is that, I mean, this is a much different conversation. I don't think that prison fixes things, right? Prison is a punishment.
Yes.
It is not necessarily any kind of rehabilitation. So I think that you have to look very carefully at what the crime is to see if prison, like if you're just out serial killing a bajillion people, probably you should just go to prison and be separated from the rest of us non-serial killers, right? Like that I don't know if that can be fixed or not. That's not my expertise.
See, now we're getting into deeper questions like the American prison system.
Right. This is the prison industrial complex.
That's not for us. Okay.
But like, I don't, drugs, sex work, any of these things. No, I don't. I'm not going to say that prison is the appropriate answer to that.
You mean victimless crimes? Is that what you're talking about?
Exactly. Non-violent crimes, I'm not really in support of.
Danielle Jones, you might be a little more libertarian leaning than I thought you were with statements like that. We really see eye to eye on this.
I'm all over the place. I call myself a moderate Democrat because I'm extremely liberal, especially on social issues. But I have a lot of different. Don't put me in a box, okay?
Yeah.
Don't put me in a corner. I don't.
Me neither. That's why I say I'm a bad libertarian.
I feel a lot of ways about a lot of things, and it depends. Not everything is the same.
No, not everything is the same. And I've changed my mind on at least a dozen different topics and subjects.
I've changed my mind on a lot of things.
Yeah, lots of things.
And it's okay to do that, you guys. It's okay to do that.
Who said it wasn't?
There's no shame in being like, I believed this for a really long time, and then I found some new information, and I talked to some people who actually had lived experience. And now I actually think that what I thought before is not. That's not how I feel anymore.
It's essentially what we want tobacco controllers to do.
Right.
We want them to, I thought this way for so long, but in light of this new data about harm reduction in vaping, we are going to change our mind and our view and do it this way. That's what we want them to do.
Yeah.
You can expect that.
So we shouldn't be scared to do it either.
Yeah, so we shouldn't be scared to do it either. It's win-win, baby. It's win-win.
It is.
China.
Is someone jackhammering at your house?
China, yeah. You might hear some pounding. There's work being done just here. When you're a homeowner, okay, hang on, China. You can hang on for a second, China. But when you're a homeowner, and homeowners in the chat, shout out to you. It's an always. It feels like there's always a shoe hanging above your head because it's like everything's fine right now. It's good. Oh, what's that? Oh, our electrical panel needs to be replaced because it's a fire hazard. Oh, okay. When do we have to do that? As soon as possible. How much does it cost? Okay, great. Okay. Yeah, I'm glad I have a house. So there's people hammering holes in the walls that we're getting our electrical panel replaced. In addition to that, we're getting a bunch of stucco replaced. In addition to that, we're probably going to end up painting the house so we can get it all done at once.
Yeah.
So that's just sudden and unexpected noise and costs and nobody to do it but you. It's like you can't just call your landlord and go, oh, it's leaking in the bathroom. What do you mean that's my problem now? Okay. Shit.
Yeah, right. There's no one to call. As much as scary as that is, I'm also like, I want it, right? Because on the flip side of that, you can be like, you know what? This bathroom is ugly. I'm going to rip it all out.
Yep.
And make it exactly what I want. I want that.
There's many upsides, many upsides other than the money that that he charges us to be noisy all day long.
Yeah.
China. We're going to talk about China a little bit, and I'm going to read just a little bit from Jim McDonald at Vaping 360. He did a real good write-up of it. Real good. There are some, I don't know, we're just going to read some of it. There's some like maybes, some like this could happen, this might not happen, this seems likely to happen, this seems not very likely to happen. And obviously, like I said, I'm not going to read this whole thing, but Jim starts off and says the Chinese government has issued a revised draft of its vaping product standards that includes a ban on domestic sales of products containing non-tobacco flavors. Sounds like the United States in 2019, right? We had a flavor ban in 2019. Same thing. Domestic sales of products containing non-tobacco flavors. The finalized rules will take effect May 1st. It says that this is most likely going to happen, that there's going to be a domestic flavor ban in China. They were accepting public comments until March 17th, but obviously that has come and gone. It says the rule will also prohibit sales in China of refillable products and synthetic nicotine. So again, this is just domestic. Domestically, no flavors. Domestically, no refillable products. Domestically, no synthetic nicotine. And domestically, no nicotine over 20 milligram per milliliter. Okay. That's all what China's dealing with domestically. It says, and now this is the part where it's like, oh, okay. It also says the Chinese government has also proposed restricting vape exports from China of products allowed in destination countries. So the idea is that China will be monitoring all of the exports, and if a company like Vapepresso is sending a bunch of box mods to Australia, box mods aren't authorized in Australia, so they wouldn't be able to be shipped to Australia.
So potentially policing the world market.
But China is proposing potentially policing the entire world market of vapor products.
But that's not for sure. It's a proposal.
It's a proposal.
Is that correct?
Yeah, okay. It's a proposal. And nothing's even crystal clear about this proposal. It's like Jim McDonald says, it's still unclear if this provision would be adopted or enforced, but as it's written, the rule would prevent manufacturers from shipping products not specifically authorized in the countries receiving the shipments. Right. For countries without specific rules, manufacturers and wholesalers would have to follow the rules for the domestic Chinese market. So if there's a country like, I don't know, who can I think of right now that doesn't have any vape, anything, any vape laws, rules, or anything?
Oh, whatsoever?
Yeah, is it where it's just still the wild, wild west and nobody cares? Can't even think.
I don't even know. Yeah, I'm sure there's one somewhere.
Iceland? I'm trying to think of a country I've never heard mentioned in vaping. Vaping with this country.
They've got a flavor.
Yeah, they probably have like the most restrictive, regressive.
Who knows?
So the idea is
pretend for a minute.
Pretend that Iceland has no rules. Iceland would then have to follow China's rules.
How interesting. By default?
By default.
Huh. Weird.
China is literally trying to police the world with this.
But if you're the UK and you're like, we totes allow this here.
Yes.
Then you would be fine to import from China.
Totally fine. Totally good. I don't know if this, again, it's murky, so it doesn't specify whether it's large wholesale orders, direct to consumer, small orders. Also the idea that China doesn't care. When has China ever cared about this?
When has China cared about? I mean, they're like if I'm not mistaken, the #1 manufacturing capital for like knockoff, like intellectual property theft stuff.
Yeah,
like
clones of clones of clones of clones.
Like they don't. I mean, they just manufacture. I feel as though they don't super care about whether or not what they're manufacturing is allowed or legal per se. So this is an interesting move to me.
It's interesting. It's shocking, honestly.
Right. But I think I want to make sure that everybody is clear, assuming that I am understanding this correctly, that when Nick is talking about these domestic rules, flavor bans, bans on refillables, synthetic nicotine, nic caps, that only applies to the people of China.
Yes,
so when
only applies to China.
Banned domestically, that means that as a Chinese citizen, you cannot legally purchase these things.
Right.
So if you think about FDA, PMTA stuff, companies here in the U.S. cannot legally sell. However, they can manufacture and export to other countries as much as they want, right? So a domestic sales ban only applies to the citizens of that country. I just want to make sure that now this export thing that they're proposing, that would affect the rest of us. But I just want to make sure everybody understands what that means.
It would if, look, and I'm just trying to be realistic here. Even just think about the site Alibaba that has hundreds of millions of products.
Right.
How on earth can they possibly police that?
I mean,
is it just like, are they pulling a US thing where it's just the threat of it will scare people into submission?
Or maybe it just makes them look like they're doing something about it. And I don't know. I don't know anything about Chinese politics. I don't know anything about this. Does not seem like it would be in their best interests. And it does not seem like something like I said, usually they don't really care super what if, it's authorized or not, or if it's, a knockoff or intellectual property, violation. Like they've not really been
ever
super
cared.
concerned with
ever
that
cared.
before.
You can still buy like a clone knockoff Xbox,
right,
from China.
I'm not.
No fucks
I'm not
given.
trying to be like, anti whatever. Like I'm not. That is what they do. I'm just telling you how I've seen it be for a long time, and I'm surprised and a little confused as to why this would suddenly change with vaping. I don't know the answer here. It seems out of character, in my opinion.
Seems very out of character. Seems really super out of left field. Seems like, why would China suddenly give up $1 billion+ industry?
Right.
For what? For the sake of doing good? You tell me China's so concerned about youth vaping that's why they're doing this?
Again, this would very much shock me.
I know. I'd be shocked. I would be shocked beyond. I mean, I don't know. I would be the most shocked. Whatever the maximum level of shockness is,
right?
That's how shocked I would be. I would only be more. Yeah. I mean, that's the maximum level of shock.
Yeah. The other thing, I'm just hypothesizing in my little brain here, hearing about this, because the one portion of this that is still a proposal, not as far as I'm aware, currently actually in the legislation. It's proposed to do this policing of the exporting. I would imagine even if that did come to pass, certain intelligent or,
resourceful people.
That is the word I was looking for. Resourceful people could perhaps set up a, warehouse or a drop shipping location in a country that is fine with it, and then just, move it. I don't, this seems like it wouldn't do a lot in my opinion. So I'm confused as to why they are proposing this.
The proposal seems really very weird. I mean, and honestly, so does the flavor ban in China. Seems really very weird too, from a public health perspective. From a Chinese government perspective, it makes perfect sense because China, because tobacco. Because it's a state-owned tobacco monopoly. So of course they don't want any competition. Of course they don't. And there's been I was surprised, but I saw reports. I had the article. I didn't save it, but there were reports that Chinese vapors were just flooding stores, buying every last pod they could.
Really?
There was a whole article about all these stores selling out of all their pods. They're it's like doomsday prepping flavored pods, and they were interviewing this one guy who's like, I really only like grape. He's like, I came to the store as soon as I could get off work to get grape pods. They're already sold out. He's like, if I can't get grape pods, I'll probably just smoke cigarettes. I was like, this fucking poor guy, he just wants a goddamn grape pod to not kill himself with cigarettes. And China, for some reason, because of their state-owned tobacco monopoly, probably...
Do we have any? Did any of these articles that you read talk about how many people in China vape or how popular vaping is? Green-eyed lady asked a question in chat about. She said, "Am I correct that Chinese people are more into heat not burn devices and not so much vaping?" I know that is the case with Japan, but I am not sure on China. Actually, I don't know the answer. What is the popularity of vaping in China? I don't know the answer to this.
I don't know the answer to that. All that's pointed out in this article is Jim says relatively few Chinese residents vape compared to the number that smoke. China is very much, it's like 30%, smoking, 30% smoking rate among adults. And they just smoke, and they smoke like crazy. It's a lot of smoking, not a lot of vaping. But as far as percentages, I have no idea.
I know Japan has embraced heat not burn, Green-Eyed Lady, a lot. And they actually have, I think, don't quote me, but I want to say that they either have incredibly strict or a straight ban on regular vaping, like what we consider vaping products. I think that's correct, but they do allow heat not burn.
Yes.
So I think that's probably part of the reason why heat not burn is more popular there. Because IQOS actually did their, they went to Japan and used that market as their test market to collect all the data for their PMTA that they were given for the US. So I know that it's quite popular in Japan. South Korea is a huge heat not burn market as well. Tremendous. They love it. They go crazy for it. And I only know this firsthand because my wife Casey works in the live entertainment, music industry. She works with people on K-pop tours in South Korea who all use heat not burn products. When they come to the States, they bring their heat not burn products with them. I was hanging out with, I can't remember her name, and I would probably say it incorrectly anyway if I tried. But we were kind of chit-chatting, and she was showing me, she's like, no, the IQOS is too expensive, so I have this fake IQOS that works with the heat sticks, and she's like, I can get this for cheaper, and blah, blah, blah. And the heat not burn market in South Korea is big. Big. I don't know of the nicotine vaping market in South Korea, but I know they love heat not burn, baby. Yeah. Somebody's saying that it's not illegal in Japan. Again, don't quote me. I remembered hearing that a while ago. I don't know if that was correct or if that is no longer correct, but I thought that there was heavy restrictions on vaping.
I haven't heard anything about Japan.
I have not fact checked myself, so I'm not 100% sure on this, you guys.
We'll have to.
I have a hard enough time keeping up with all 50 U.S. states. I am not an international expert by any means, so.
So just really quickly searching around the internet, this site called vapingadvisor.com, someone posed the question, can I bring my vape to Japan? And the only answer is no. Japanese law prohibits vaping. You cannot smoke nicotine in Japan either. However, non-nicotine e-liquids are allowed in Japan.
You can't smoke nicotine?
I don't know.
First off, what does that mean?
Yeah, smoke
and second
cigarettes.
Off, you can definitely smoke cigarettes and use heat not burn in Japan. So.
Yes. Now this person's probably
don't know if I trust that person.
I don't know if I trust Vaping Advisor here. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah, I thought I had a memory of hearing that there were restrictions.
Something.
Do your own research, friends. I'm not 100% sure.
Do your own research. I'll put a link in the description to the Jim McDonald article. I'll put the link in the chat right now as well for you to read. Reading through this, it doesn't feel like the sky is falling, and it still doesn't. So I don't know why people are saying the sky is falling.
I think probably a lot of people were confused about sales ban, domestic sales ban versus a manufacturing ban. Those things are typically always different unless legislation is written in such a way that it covers both. So just always keep an eye out for that, because just because there's a sales ban does not mean there is a manufacturing ban. So just remember that. I mean, it could cover both, but you have to look for it.
The Chinese vaping product exporting business is huge. I guess I'm going to read more of this than I thought. 15.6 billion annually, according to Shanghai Daily, and is responsible for more than 3 million jobs in the country. Chinese research firm iMedia says there are more than 170,000 e-cigarette businesses in China.
I believe that.
Whoa. 170,000 e-cigarette businesses in China. $15 billion? I feel like China's not just going to flush $15 billion down the toilet.
I mean, that seems counterintuitive to me. I don't know why they would do that.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I have no idea. It just comes, for me, it comes back to the state-owned tobacco monopoly.
There is that. That is definitely.
I mean, that's,
but for manufacturing, that wouldn't matter, though. Like, I get them for that purpose, right? So State-owned tobacco companies, if anybody doesn't know, means that the government is personally invested. They own tobacco companies and they make money when people buy cigarettes because they
directly,
right? So
they own them.
If the president of the United States and all the cabinet people owned Philip Morris or Reynolds or Altria, right?
Not and just accepted money.
No.
Owned.
Like they owned part of it, right? Or however, maybe not personally, but the government owns a stake in the tobacco companies, right? That's what state-owned tobacco is. So I could see them doing a sales ban because eliminate the competition, right?
Yeah.
Like I could see that. But a manufacturing ban doesn't make sense because if you leave manufacturing but ban sales, you get to have your cake and eat it too, right? You get to prevent your citizens from switching to a product that is not yours that you don't make money off of. You get to stop that, and you get to keep collecting money off of that same industry without it affecting your tobacco sales. So from a strategery standpoint,
That's a word.
I don't agree with, but I see the logic in them doing that if their goal is money. But it doesn't. The exporting part seems like they're kicking themselves in the face. Like I don't know why they would do that.
Yeah.
I am not an international expert. So
if that ever comes to pass, then I guess we'll get to see firsthand.
I mean,
I guess there was one chat that I wanted to address. I saw it whip by, but this Becca asked, "Is it true when you hit your vape hard?" Which I don't, but when you do, I heard from someone that it can pop your lungs with a hole in your lungs. No, that's not a thing. Not reality. There's not reality there. That's based in no reality. Whoever told you that should be punched in the genitals. Hard.
Yeah, no, that's not a thing.
You're not going to pop your lungs. You're not going to pop a hole in your lungs.
I don't even know how you would do that with any substance.
Dude,
I don't know. Short of stabbing yourself with an instrument, I don't know how you would pop a hole in your. That's not a thing.
Yeah, not
Becca,
physically.
I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I am saying that is not a thing and that you need to work.
Crazy statement. Don't believe anybody that tells you that. And I mean, anecdotally, look, I vaped series mechs at 8 volts with dual coils for months. Cloud chasing my lungs out, like literally inhaling as hard as I possibly can for months and months and months. Perfectly fine. Fine. That's completely anecdotal. Perfectly fine. You won't find a cloud chaser with holes popped in their lungs, Becca.
No,
not at all.
That's not. Also, if you have a hole in your lung, you're immediately probably going to the hospital because your lung's going to deflate and you're not going to be able to breathe, and that's going to be a problem. So.
Yeah, and that's going to be a problem.
I don't think people can just wander around with holes in their lungs.
No.
I could be wrong, but there's it's like a balloon, right? You can't use a balloon with a hole in it. That doesn't really work. It doesn't. So, no.
You can't. You'd be in the hospital.
Yeah.
You'd be in the hospital. Okay. Well, one thing I wanted to share that's pretty cool before we get to any National Youth Tobacco Survey stuff is Mexico had from what I can tell, a series of rallies. We had the 2 rallies now in D.C. Mexico had 5 different rallies in 5 different cities, virtually on the same day.
Nice.
Cancun, Guadalajara. I mean, all of these places supporting harm reduction and requesting regulation of nicotine vaping devices. Nothing about us without us. Look at that. Oh, that's cool.
I like that. Makes my heart happy.
This makes me so fucking happy to see this happening in Mexico. 5 different rallies in 5 different cities. Man, that's huge. That's so great. This just got me thinking. I started spinning the wheels in my head going, what do we do? Let's do something. I mean,
I want to do this. I'm still like, I'm your weird friend who doesn't leave their house because they're still scared of COVID. Please don't judge me. Just love me anyway.
Well, you're
I'm just real scared of it.
you're compromised as well. Like you're not.
Well, I have health things. I'm still scared of
you're
COVID.
Allowed.
Yeah. Please don't call me a sheep or anything. It's just how I feel. And
scared of an infectious disease that has killed 1 million people in this country?
I am.
How
worried about
dare
that.
you? How dare you?
Yeah. And it's not just me. My husband has health things too. So we're both, so I don't want to. No, if that man ever, let's not talk about that. Okay.
I don't want that.
I need him. He's my person.
Yeah.
So we don't go anywhere. But I really want to do something like this.
I really want to do something.
I might get one of those, like, they have like human-sized bubbles that you can put yourself in. Right? I would come to know you guys in a bubble. Yeah, like I really want to go to something like this. Will you guys still love me if I come in a bubble? Would it be okay?
If you arrived in a bubble, I'd hug the bubble and I go, "Thank you for being here."
Hug
the bubble.
Hug people in my bubble.
Hug the bubble, baby. Hug it. 5 rallies. Look at this guy taking selfies there. 5 rallies, 5 different cities, just defending harm reduction. And this, like I said, this got my gears turning. And I was thinking, man, like those 2 rallies were, the first one was great. The second one was less great, but necessary. And then since then, we've had nothing. Nothing since 2020. It was 2 years ago we had a rally.
Yeah.
We need to do something. And my first thought, when I saw this, I thought, wow, 5 rallies in 5 different cities in Mexico, that's reasonable. Like, why couldn't we not throw a big rally? Because getting everybody across the country to fly to Washington, D.C., it's hard. It's a big ask. But we have vapors in Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, New York, Chicago, Georgia, Atlanta.
Right. Pick
Houston,
one for
Texas.
each region, right?
Pick one city in each region. We'll pick one day and we'll have a rally in every city on this one day in the United States. I think could be a pretty big, impactful thing.
I mean, that sounds lovely.
That sounds great, right? Now, someone start planning that because I don't have time. But I really want to. I love the idea of just one random day, like 2023 even. August 2023, on some random day when nobody's expecting it. There's a vape rally in Houston, Texas. There's a vape rally in Los Angeles. There's a vape rally in Sacramento, San Francisco, Seattle, Chicago, Atlanta, Denver, New York, New Jersey, all on the same day. That
would be pretty cool.
If you had if you had any sort of PR, like you could get
running
news
a
involved.
website.
Yeah.
Live streams at all of them, and they
live streams
flipped
of
around
all of them. Everybody reaching out to local news stations to get it covered. It could get picked up by national news. I mean, it could be a big deal. It could be huge.
It could be pretty neat.
I think it could be huger than all of us going to Washington, D.C. to stand in the ellipse.
Yeah, because not everybody, plane tickets cost money, right?
Yeah.
You need babysitters. You need
somebody
got to watch the kids. You can't take time off from your job.
Off work But on a random Saturday in August with enough planning near you in your hometown, drive 20 minutes down the road, boom, rally. Just thoughts. Just thinking out loud, Danielle Jones. Thoughts.
I like your thoughts.
Shout out to all the vapors in Mexico. Hell yeah. Awesome.
Well done, you guys.
I love it. Well done. Rally for harm reduction. I mean, yes, rally for harm reduction, but it's kind of weird that we even have to do it in the first place.
I know.
We want to help people quit smoking, and we have to protest our government to allow us to do that.
Yeah, you would think that Truth Initiative would be holding these rallies, not us.
Right.
But
you'd think Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids would be having these rallies.
Yeah.
But they love cigarettes. They love cigarettes. They love cigarettes. Yeah.
They love fighting cigarettes.
They love
using big tobacco as a punching bag.
I think they just like cigarettes. Like,
I don't think they like cigarettes.
No, they do.
I think they hate it. They like fighting it.
Matt Myers would not be Matt Myers without cigarettes.
I mean, that's true. That's true. But he needs to fight them.
Right. Fight them.
He wouldn't be him if they still existed, but only like 5 people used them. That would not be helpful to him. He needs to fight them.
Yes, he needs to fight them forever, continuously, even when no one's smoking.
Yeah,
we're still gonna fight.
And if no one's smoking, he'll move to vaping or opioids.
We'll pick something
apparently
else.
That's where he thinks. That's what Truth's doing anyway.
Truth Initiative getting into opioids. Good Lord.
Worst idea.
God fucking help us. They're gonna mess everything up. They're gonna ruin.
They're prohibitionists. What do you think they're gonna do?
The little amount.
Prohibitionists gonna prohibit.
That's true, and they are. That's all they're gonna push for. Right. And the already limited amount of good factual data out there about fentanyl and opioids and what's actually happening and the facts of the matter are just going to get disinformationized. Yeah. Is that a word? It's not a word. It's going to get truthed all over the place, and people are just going to end up being more fucking confused than they are now.
Right, and it's already happening without truth, right? There's plenty of people already putting out, these myths about fentanyl, these myths about opioids, misconstruing things and making it just seem like this is black and this is white and this is the only way to solve this. Yeah. Like, that's not how this works.
Nope.
And they're not going to make that better at all. They're going to make it worse.
10 times worse. At least 50 to 100 times worse.
Exactly.
Let's talk about the National Youth Tobacco Survey, and let's use this bumper for the first time in like a year. Yeah. Boom.
Dance break.
National Youth Tobacco Survey 2021. It's here. I can't believe it. Usually, in years past, the National Youth Tobacco Survey has always been a really exciting time. At least from what we do, I look forward to the National Youth Tobacco Survey data, and I look forward to other people getting the National Youth Tobacco Survey data and showing us what's going on in the country.
Specifically, Dr. Brad. Huge shout out to our the love of our lives. Basically, it's Brad Radu, and we have some graphs that we're going to be sharing that Danielle Jones put together. Would not have been possible really without Dr. Brad. No, Dr. Brad is okay. I'm going to try to be professional here. I am Dr. Brad's #1 fan. Okay, I will fight anybody who tries to take that title from me. I adore him. All the way down to his bow ties. Okay. I tend to be drawn to a smart man in a bow tie. It's a weird quirk that I've noticed.
It's a thing.
He is so great. He does these amazing, you have to be trained and have fancy software in order to be able to take all of this survey data that CDC collects. Their report that they put out, that's not all the data, right? They decide what they think the American public should know about, and they have a bunch of extra data and they don't do anything with it. But Dr. Brad can download the data because they do give it to the researchers, right? They put it out there. And then he has crazy, complicated, fancy software. And he can run and do these crazy analyses and then find out, for example, of the kids that vaped, which ones smoked also. Or, he can really get into the data and slice it up in all these different ways to show us really important information, right? Because knowing how many kids are vaping, once in the last 30 days versus how many of them are actually doing it every day.
Right.
And of those who are doing it every day, how many used to smoke or smoked before that? This is important to understand
questions.
Behavior and motivations and links and how things work. And Dr. Brad can do that. And I just love him so much.
We love
The
Dr.
end.
Brad. We're still trying to get Dr. Brad on the show, on the stream.
Oh my God, you guys. Okay.
Constantly.
I'm pretty sure that Dr. Brad is going to come on CASAA's Twitter space.
What?
I know. I think that I'm going to meet him.
Yes.
I'm
Fuck
still
yes.
trying to be professional, but I think it's going to happen. We haven't got 100% confirmation, but keep an eye out for CASAA's Twitter space. Not this week, but next week. I think possibly we're going to get Dr. Brad on, and I'm real excited about it.
Spectacular. I love that. If you've talked to him, like, put in a good word for the TBN stream.
Yeah.
Be like,
Yeah.
We do this.
I'll be like, Dr. Brad, do you want to come on TBN?
GrimmGreen stream? TBN, huh? Maybe. Yeah, Dr. Brad, he's a champ. He's just a legend.
Yeah.
Just a mother trucking legend. Legend. So thanks, Dr. Brad. We're going to show these beautiful graphs in just a second after we do a little bit of, it's going to be a little bit of story time with GrimmGreen, because Mark Gunter, he wrote another just banger of a piece for Medium. For anybody unfamiliar, Mark Gunter is a journalist. He generally writes about philanthropy in the philanthropy world. And through his work in philanthropy, and obviously Mike Bloomberg is a big philanthropist, he got involved in what he calls the Great Vape Debate. And so he has his medium here, which is the Great Vape Debate. He's the one who originally wrote about Bloomberg's dark money, maybe meddling in some lower income countries, trying to push his prohibitionist agenda with the union and, campaign for tobacco-free kids. Mark Gunter, I mean, that was a scathing article about Mike Bloomberg, and I loved it. And that's when I first came across Mark Gunter. And now, today, when the good news about smoking is bad news for anti-smoking groups, first of all, that headline is brilliant. Brilliant. Because as we'll discover, the National Youth Tobacco Survey, smoking is record lows again.
Basically
record lower,
almost
extinct. Record lower than the last year when they were record lows. It's more record lower than that was.
Yeah.
So when the good news about smoking is bad news for anti-smoking groups, advocacy groups could declare a victory over teen smoking. Instead, they're going after vaping. Tuck in. Let's listen to the great words of Mark Gunter. This month, the government made public the 2021 National Youth Tobacco Survey. The results should be a cause for celebration. Yeah. They have not been. They've been underplayed. That does not reflect well on the CDC, the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, the Truth Initiative, Bloomberg Philanthropies, Parents Against Vaping and E-Cigarettes, and the Cancer, Lung, and Heart Disease associations that make up the anti-tobacco industrial complex. The good news, teen smoking continues to decline. Only 1.5% of middle school and high school students had smoked a cigarette in the past 30 days. 1.5%. That is unreal. That is mind-blowingly low.
Most countries consider a smoking rate of under 5% a smoke-free society.
Right, exactly.
And they're at 1.5.
1.5%. Just to give you an idea, when I was in high school, in 1994, when I was a smoker in high school, the smoking rate for high school students was 35%. 34 and some change percent in 1994. That's insane.
1.5.
That within my lifetime, that smoking rate is down to below 2%, 1.5%. That's nothing. That's smoke-free. That's a smoke-free youth. For all intents and purposes, that is smoke-free youth. Teen smoking has dropped by a stunning 90% in the last decade. Teen use of e-cigarettes is falling sharply too. Adult cigarette smoking has also declined to its lowest level since the 1960s. This should continue since most smokers take up the habit when they're young. This is an amazing success story, says Robert Mermelstein, director of the Institute for Health Research and Policy at the University of Illinois, Chicago, and a former president of the Society for Research on Nicotine and Tobacco. By email, she said, there should be a lot of cheering for the steep and consistent decline in teen tobacco use by any metric. Lots of cheering. Who's cheering, Danielle Jones? Nobody's cheering.
No.
Nobody's cheering. Instead,
They're
the
not
FDA, they're not even whispering. Nothing. We've heard nothing about youth smoking. Instead, the FDA, the CDC, and the anti-tobacco advocacy groups accentuate the negative. The CDC headline, Youth e-cigarette use remains a serious public health concern. The Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids said, new survey shows that despite continued progress, 2.5 million kids still use tobacco products in 2021, and 79% used flavored products. If you took that headline at face value and you were an uninformed, just proletariat voter person sitting at home, I would go 79%. That's excessive. That's severe. 79% of our kids are using flavored tobacco products. But that's not what the data shows in any capacity. It's unreal. So, in search of harm, this is one of my favorite parts. This is a reminder that the opponents of tobacco share a peculiar addiction of their own. They are addicted to harm. Good news about declining tobacco use, it turns out, is bad news for tobacco-free kids and Truth Initiative. By email, Clive Bates, a longtime anti-smoking advocate who formerly directed Action on Smoking and Health, explains, the paradox of these health groups is that they need harm to justify the punitive and coercive policies that are at the heart of their model of public health. They need the harm. Think about that. They need the harm. Harm generates the locus for public health intervention. Organizations, grants, publications, conferences, treaties, etc. Without harm, they lose their reason to exist. We've said this so many times, Danielle Jones, when there's no more dragons left to slay, what do?
Nobody needs you.
Nobody needs you anymore. And you got to be needed. You got to secure that funding. It's no wonder that, as teen smoking has declined, the anti-tobacco forces have taken on e-cigarettes, even though just about everyone, including CDC, recognizes that vaping is much less harmful than smoking. It's also less harmful than other risky behaviors that are popular with teens. More teens drink alcohol than vape e-cigarettes. Underage drinking causes 3,500 deaths a year, the CDC says. How many vaping teen deaths have there been this year, Danielle Jones?
None.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure it was still zero.
As far as I'm aware,
still zero?
Still zero.
Still zero. Okay. Meantime, the number of teens who are vaping has fallen by about 60% from its peak in 2019. Wait till you see these graphs, you guys. 60% from its peak in 2019. This, too, is barely mentioned by the anti-tobacco forces. So much for the so-called teen vaping epidemic. To put the new smoking data in historical context, consider that public health experts released a report called Healthy People 2020 back in 2010. This is a thing. Healthy People 2020 was a thing back in 2010. I didn't know about this.
It was like goals.
Yeah, it was goals. It says they set goals for reducing tobacco use over the next decade. About 19.5% of high school students then reported smoking cigarettes. So that's down from the 35% in 1994. Healthy People 2020 aimed to reduce high school cigarette smoking to 16% and reduce all tobacco use by high school students to 21% by 2020. Today, high school cigarette smoking sits at 1.9%, and use of any kind of tobacco use is at 11.3%. The numbers aren't strictly comparable, but the trends are undeniable. We're doing better than the prediction.
Right. A lot better.
A lot better than the prediction. A lot better than the prediction. In fairness, Matthew Myers, the president of Tobacco Free Kids, applauded the decline in teen smoking, calling it a public health success story that will save lives for generations. But his comment was tucked into the middle of a longer statement that mostly focused on the dangers of vaping. Yeah.
Of course it would.
Of course it did. Of course it did.
Of course it did.
Good work by the CDC, Tobacco Free Kids, and Truth Initiative surely helped drive the decline. They have run national media campaigns and pushed for higher tobacco taxes, but the rise of vaping surely played a role, too, by diverting young people as well as adults away from combustible cigarettes. They can now satisfy their nicotine cravings with an e-cigarette. Many adult vapers are former smokers, which we're going to talk about as well. Ken Warner, Dean Emeritus at the School of Public Health, University of Michigan, and another past president of the SNRT, tells me the continuing decline. See, this is why I wear this hat. This quote right here is why I wear this hat every Tuesday. The continuing decline in youth cigarette smoking is historic for two reasons. First, the rate of youth smoking is becoming vanishingly small. This is an enormous, important public health success story. Second, the continued decline should put to rest the fear that nicotine vaping will increase smoking. The rate of decline in youth smoking has actually accelerated during the era of vaping's popularity among kids. Kenneth Warner, Dean Emeritus at the University of Michigan School of Public Health and past president of the SNRT, said that. Why aren't we listening to Kenneth Warner? Why is nobody listening to Kenneth Warner? I just wish they would. It would make everything so much easier, Danielle Jones.
I know.
Right? No one should now argue with a straight face that vaping is a gateway to smoking. No. If someone tells you that vaping is a gateway, you just laugh at them.
Yeah.
Just laugh. No other reaction. Just please laugh in their faces and say, okay. Raymond Naruya, a tobacco control expert, NYU professor, and another former SNRT president, says about the nonprofits, the zero tolerance smoking policy has morphed into zero tolerance for nicotine. So even though cigarette smoking has declined, the war continues. Sure, the National Youth Tobacco Survey data shows some positive trends, but this shouldn't distract us from our primary mission, which is to thwart the evil tobacco and nicotine industry at every turn. Sarcasm intended.
Sarcastic.
That was a sarcastic comment by Raymond Naruya.
Yeah.
Sure, youth smoking's at an all-time low, but that shouldn't distract us. He's on to something. To stay relevant, the anti-smoking organizations with big budgets, $109 million in FY 2020 for Truth Initiative, $42 million in 2019 for Tobacco Free Kids, shifted their focus from smoking to vaping to nicotine, including synthetic nicotine, which is not even derived from tobacco. Never underestimate the ability of a nonprofit to engage in mission creep when it's within its reach of its primary goal. Mm-hmm. That's huge. That's huger than I think anybody realizes. But the idea that Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids is getting to their goal of having tobacco-free kids, now the realization is setting in that this could get achieved and we won't have a purpose anymore.
What's our campaign now? The kids are all tobacco-free.
They're all tobacco-free. Mission creep.
Yep.
Thanks, Truth Initiative. Going after opioids now. We call that mission creep. But old habits come into play as well. The Tobacco-Free Kids and its allies have always seen themselves as warriors against the forces of evil. Their favorite scientist, Stanton Glantz, once said, "I'd just like to destroy the tobacco industry."
That's an excellent impersonation. You guys, he deserves an Oscar.
I'm practicing my Stanton Glantz.
Really good. Really, really good. You could probably deep fake him. I believe that.
Oh, I probably could.
We shouldn't do that because it's not ethical, but you could.
I don't care anymore.
If you were an unethical
Gloves are off, Danielle. Unethical harm reduction advocate coming out of the gate. Let's deep fake Stanton Glantz. Oh, that would be hilarious, wouldn't it?
He said enough weird stuff that you almost don't even need to.
You don't even need to. You could just you could deep fake Stanton Glantz and read his own blog posts and it would seem like a crazy person talking.
Giving talks on like cell phones giving everyone brain cancer.
Yeah. Stanton glance.
And weird underwear things from that.
Yeah, what's the weird
You don't know
underwear
nicotine.
things?
That's so strange.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
The weird... What was
I do remember
something
that.
with underwear? I don't even remember. It was just weird.
Well, it was a glancy. He was glancing it up. He was just being glancy. When Altria bought a 35% stake in Juul, it confirmed the fears of the anti-smoking crowd that vaping was just another way for the tobacco industry to hook new customers. They might be right, but if what they care about is public health, and if vaping is in fact a substitute for smoking, then it shouldn't matter who owns the vape companies.
Thank you.
Mark. If they care about public health and vaping is a substitute for smoking, then it shouldn't matter who owns the vape companies. Thank you.
Yep.
It shouldn't matter. In fact, I personally would like to see Big Tobacco selling vaping products. I want that for them. I want Big Tobacco to stop selling cigarettes and sell vapor products.
Yup.
100%.
Just like I want like fossil fuel companies to move to clean energy. I want that too.
Yep.
Like this concept of like, oh, these corporations who did a thing that had bad consequences, they are evil and they must just be destroyed. That is a very childish attitude. We're taking the gloves off right now. This is childish.
Throw them off like in hockey.
If you want to be pragmatic and you want actual real solutions, you incentivize these huge, powerful corporations to do the right thing. You make it beneficial to them. You make it rich for them to do the better, greener, safer, whatever it is. And then the entire world changes overnight.
Right.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Powered by, absolutely. Incentivize it for them. Incentivize it.
Yeah.
Change the world overnight. Simply because people vote with their dollars.
And the corporations go where the money is, you guys. You don't have to believe. You don't have to believe that they're good or that they're ethical or any of that.
They're generally
just believe they will follow the money.
Yeah.
And lead them in the direction that you want them to go. That, in my opinion, is the nuts and bolts of how you work with corporations.
Yep. 100%. Also, I mean, subsidies, we don't even need to start talking about tobacco subsidies and stuff like that.
Just don't ban it. Just make it, the tobacco companies will move to it if you don't do as high of taxes on it, if you allow it to be legal in the country, and if you let the proper establishments sell it, right? Because all of that is more lenient than cigarettes. They will go. You don't even need to give them like subsidies or monetary incentives. I promise they will do it without it. I promise 100%. You.
And nobody, I know this is a whataboutism and I don't care. Nobody throws a fit when Lagunitas sells not beer.
Yeah.
They sell water. They sell beer flavored water. They have hop water and beer. And no one went, no, beer intoxicates and they only do harm in the world. We can't allow them to sell anything other than what causes harm.
Right.
That's fucking insane. That's insanity.
Wait a minute. Did you hear about this? There is a tobacco company that I believe had something to do with
COVID, the vaccine?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you hear about this?
Yeah. And apparently it's a really, really good vaccine, but Canada won't allow it because it's associated with a tobacco company.
Something, I can't remember all the details. I got an email and I skimmed it. But there's something to the effect of a big tobacco company like invested in a pharma company that has some sort of, I didn't see if it was a vaccine or a therapeutic or something.
Oh, it might have been a therapeutic.
I don't remember which it is. Some sort of thing to help with COVID, right? And governments, or at least one, but I think multiples, just will not accept the thing to help with COVID because a tobacco company
was involved. That's it.
That's cutting off your nose to spite your face.
That's exactly what that is. Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not, but that's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like, listen, I'll talk up Kenneth Warner as a past president of the SRNT, but lately the Society for Research in Tobacco and Nicotine have been pissing me off tremendously because of the same thing. They pulled a World Health Organization. They pulled a COP9 and had a tobacco meeting and didn't allow anybody that has any ties to any part of the industry allowed there. Fuck that.
Yep, I agree.
Fuck that.
Yep.
Sorry, SRNT, but fuck that. Why would you do that? Why would you use the World Health Organization's playbook? That's crazy to me. Anyway.
Are your ideas so paper thin that if you even come
right.
near an industry person, they'll just fall apart and you'll turn to the dark side? Like, what exactly are we worried about?
What are they afraid of?
Yeah,
what on earth? More data?
Are you kidding me? Seriously.
Crazy. Yeah. And it's like, is your stance so paper thin that even hearing a dissenting view will just crumble your little house of cards?
Right.
Is that where we're at?
That sounds like a you problem, not a them problem.
That sounds a lot like a you problem.
Ridiculous.
Let me finish this up. We'll get to your great chart. Further evidence that the CDC and its allies are determined to stop anything that resembles a cigarette can be found on their response to the disease named EVALI. Perversely, the group blamed e-cigarettes for death and illnesses that were in fact caused by illegal vaping of THC. It requires a considerable degree of self-righteousness to weaponize a public health tragedy. Ooh.
That's
self-righteous. CDC weaponizing a public health tragedy. Take a step back, and all of this, sadly, reflects how little we've learned from the failure of the war on drugs. The FDA is moving to ban menthol cigarettes, 5 states to ban flavored e-cigarettes. Some localities have banned all vaping. As a black market grows, law enforcement will follow. It defies good sense that America is preparing to send people to prison for selling menthol smokes and flavored vapes, just as a long-awaited victory over cigarette smoking appears to be within reach. Mark Gunter, ladies and gentlemen. Mark Gunter, killing it. I'm going to put a link to this in the description because it's truly and honestly one of the best things that I've read all year. I'll say it. What are we, March now? All year. All year. I love it. God, I love it so much. So, like Mark Gunter pointed out, youth smoking, way down. Youth vaping, way down. Adult smoking, way down. Let's look at my favorite graph. We're going to start with this one with the cigarette line because that's just my favorite thing. I love this thing. Danielle Jones put together some graphs that we're going to share. These are also shared on the CASAA Twitter as well.
Yeah, so this one I did tweet on a CASAA thread, but it's actually pinned to my profile. So if you want this one, all these graphs are on Twitter, you guys. So I see somebody in there already. Like, how can I have them? Go to the Twitters.
So this
one is pinned on my profile, and then I'll talk about the other two in a minute. But yeah, this one I presented on the CASAA podcast. You would have seen it already if you watched that.
I did. I watched it. I watched it. I saw it when you premiered these live.
Yeah. So this
I like your little cigarette trend.
Thank you. I was like, how can
cool.
I make this line interesting? And I was like, ooh, make it a little marching line of cigarettes.
Yeah, it's perfect.
So essentially what you're looking at here is smoking and vaping rates for the National Youth Tobacco Survey for high school over the years, right? And so the blue is smoking, the green is vaping, and what that line of cigarettes is based on the trend before vaping took off, so the smoking trend, how the decline should have gone from a statistical standpoint, right? So based on the previous years, this is the trajectory of the decline of smoking. It was already declining. Let's be real. It was already going down.
Well, smoking's gross. Like, here's the thing.
Right.
Without vaping, I think smoking would have gone away eventually. I mean, it's just going to get to a point where it's like,
longer.
We're all dying and this gross and we stink. Maybe we should just stop smoking cigarettes.
Right. And
feel like-
newer generations don't do it as much as older ones do. And
Yeah.
if I'm being honest here, older generations die off, right? So eventually you're going to have, I mean, I'm not trying to be crass. That's
Harsh.
just how,
Reality.
how it works,
Look, real
right?
life.
That less,
Facts.
Right. Less younger
About
people
facts
initiate smoking, and the people who are already smoking eventually pass away. Just that's how life works, right? So the rate was already going down, and you want to, if you can debate on whether, you know, T21 and taxes and all of these things, maybe they help,
Sure.
maybe they don't. There's, you know, but that's a thing, right? So it was going down, but the little line of cigarettes, that was the rate that it was going down. Now you compare that to the actual data of what actually happened.
Yeah.
It was a lot steeper, faster than what was predicted, basically.
Look at that. Even just look at that first drop from 2013 to 2014. That is severe.
Yeah.
That severe drop
And
in smoking.
do you know what happened at the exact same time that happened? Vaping took off.
Oh, shit.
It's right there in the graph, right? I don't know if you're able to zoom in or not, but I put a little line down the graph.
I can't. Oh, there it is. There's a little line. Oh, yeah.
So see that line for basically it's at 2014.
Yeah.
So that's the year where smoking took a dive and
2014.
vaping took a big
Boom.
increase.
Look at that
right?
cross. Dramatically drop smoking.
Right.
I mean, that
And so
looks
then
to me like a dramatic drop.
It based on, look at the rest of the, you know, look at all of the blue before that. There's no drop like that ever before.
And there's even
right?
a little bump in like 2012. It's like boop. Or like 2010. There's like a little bump here.
Mm-hmm. So once vaping takes off in popularity, smoking declines even faster, way fast. And this is what the guys in Mark's article talked about, right? The experts. It's not just me looking at a graph making shit up. Like, it's real, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have observed a faster decline in youth smoking than what should have been, right? Based on previous data. And the other thing going on, the only other thing really going on at that time was that vaping hit the scene, if you will. So this is what I'm showing in this graph, right?
Yeah.
That's it in a nutshell.
That's it in a nutshell. And you can see, the uptick in smoking, and I mean, not uptick, but basically back to where the previous trend was in 2018. So there's this dip, and then it goes back up in 2018 and then drops dramatically faster in over 2019, 2020, 2021.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised we didn't see smoking higher in 2019 because of EVALI.
I mean, yeah. There's
I'm
something
shocked.
to be said for that.
And then, so the green represents vaping past 30-day use, current use, or as the CDC defines it, as current use.
Correct.
So even at its peak in 2019, it was still under 30% prevalence for past 30-day use.
Mm-hmm. And now it's dropping dramatically.
And now it's dropping. Yeah, I mean, that drop is
we already peaked.
Crazy. That drop is unreal. That drop shows to me that it was more or less a fad. Seems like it was a fad.
My opinion, yes.
That looks like a fad to me.
Yes.
And if you look at 2017, this valley here is where the youth vaping epidemic started. This valley in the green.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it was first announced. So they have whatever 2015.
I think it was technically the 2018 data that they used to announce it, right? So when it shoots up, 2018,
I heard
that's
youth epidemic before that. I heard youth epidemic in 2016.
Are we talking about Gottlieb's announcement?
The first time I heard the term youth vaping epidemic, and the only reason I remember this is because of the apartment I was in at the time. And I remember saying in vlogs repeatedly, prove the epidemic, prove the epidemic, prove the epidemic. We can't let Scott Gottlieb just keep saying epidemic without proving the epidemic. He has to prove the epidemic. And I really believe it was in 2016 and 2017 in the Valley.
I can fact check us.
Let's fact check us.
I remember this distinctly because my mom was in town visiting me when this Gottlieb announcement came out for the vaping epidemic. And I made a graph. It's on my Instagram still that says, does this look like an epidemic to you? And the data that I had was only up till 2017. I made this graph in September of 2018.
Okay.
And that's because Gottlieb did the teaser, right? He came out because this is what they always do. They tease it. So he said, vaping epidemic. And this is in 2018 of the new 2018 data that had not been released. So I put out a graph showing 2016, 2015, 16, and 17 going, where's the epidemic? And then it was the 2018 data, and it shot up. And then 2019 got worse.
Yeah.
So it got worse, and now it's getting better.
And then, yeah.
So it was 2018.
So
for sure.
2018, if you follow it up, yeah, I mean, look, that's pretty high. 20% past 30-day use. That's undeniably high. Sure. Not as high as, say, 5 years earlier with cigarette smoking or 2004 with cigarette smoking.
Right.
But that's still pretty damn high.
Yeah, it is something to, possibly have some concern about. That's fair, right?
Yeah.
Fair. I don't think I would call it an epidemic, but something's going on with the young people. Right.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, but don't they have very similar numbers in the UK? Like their youth vaping prevalence has been like 4 to 5% since 2012 or something when they first started monitoring it. And they have very similar rates of youth vaping and smoking, but they don't come to the same conclusions that we do.
Right. And the reason that they don't come to the same conclusions that we do is because they don't use any current use data, right? So this data that we're looking at is a kid taking even one puff of a vape within the last month before they took the survey, right? I talk about this all the time.
Right.
That's what we base it off. The UK does not, because they know that's some BS.
Right.
The kids experiment. So they only look at kids who vape like every day or nearly every day.
Right.
That's what they talk about when they report their vaping numbers. And it is if you look at our almost every day or that type stuff, it's very similar.
Very similar.
And they don't feel that they have a vaping problem, but we do because we look at, have you ever even come near it in the last month?
You have?
Did you think about it in the last month? Current vapor.
Current use.
Like I'm exaggerating here, but
it's not that much of an exaggeration. It's not that much of an exaggeration.
Yeah.
What would this chart? I mean, you can't possibly speculate that, but how do we get? I mean, what would this chart look like if it was based on daily habitual use? Substantially different.
It would look extremely different. I don't think have ever gone above 5% from that standpoint. Now, for somebody like Dr. Brad, he can probably pull all that data out. For me, the CDC did not start reporting any sort of level of frequency use until like the past couple years. So I only have a little, and they've done it very inconsistently. So I don't have a huge long data set of, this 20 plus days out of 30 or daily. They're inconsistent in like, I didn't even see it. I don't think in the report that they put out for 2021, if I'm not right, maybe it's in there. No, it's got to be in there because we've got the numbers. But they're just very inconsistent, and they don't always report the same stuff the same way every year. So for somebody who relies on them for the data, or Dr. Brad. If Dr. Brad does a huge analysis and then publishes it, I'm like, mine, and then I use that. But, Dr. Brad's a busy man. I think he doesn't always have time to do these very detailed breakdowns every year. So, but yeah, it would, to my knowledge, it's never gone much above 5% if we're talking about 20
daily
plus
use.
Days. And it's 20 plus out of the last 30. That's the way that they measure it. So
that's reasonable.
I mean, you could skip every third day in a month, not vape every third day, and you'd still fall into that category, which, some people are like, is that really habitual? I mean, it's very open to interpretation, and that's only 1 month in time, right? What if you're having a really bad month, or what if that's the month you discover vaping and then the next month you drop it? Like, but that's the data for the year. That's it. Depends on what month they catch you. So.
And I remember, and this was something I was talking about on the stream, but the CDC has gone out of their way to say that, We can't compare 2021 National Youth Tobacco Survey to previous years.
Right.
Because they were allowed to take this National Youth Tobacco Survey in different locations.
Right, because there's home learning, right?
Because there's
of the
home
pandemic.
learning. So that this might not be accurate, but the CDC also says it is very accurate, and we stand by these findings.
Right. So, like, this is totes correct, guys, but also don't compare it to previous years because it might not. But it is correct.
But it is correct, but it might not
be.
But it is.
But it is, but you can't.
But it is. But we trust it still, but you can't compare it. But we trust it still. Policy will be based on this data, even though don't compare it to previous years.
Right. So we'll compare it to previous years and say that 2 million kids are still using tobacco products. We'll do that, but you can't do that.
You
don't
can't
do that.
You don't get to do that.
It's different. I want to flip somebody the bird.
Yeah.
No. So guess what? I went ahead and put it in my graph because they said it was accurate. So now, caveat here. Would I be surprised if there were a little increase the following year when everyone's back in school for good, right?
Sure.
Would I be surprised if there was a slight increase in smoking and vaping? Mm-hmm. No, I wouldn't. And the reason being is because most of these kids are underage, right? And so their access to these products is very volatile. It is very unstable because they rely on other people who are able to get illegal products. So it tracks that if they're not around their friends every day, the friends who may have the connections to get the stuff, then they're not going to use the products. And then they're back around their friends again. And then maybe they use that is possible. I don't think it's going to be a huge bump, but it is possible.
It is plausible. Yes.
But I don't think that makes this data like you can't compare it. Like, I'm sorry. Screw you.
Yeah. Can't compare it.
You're using it, but I can't.
We believe in this and we believe in these results. We believe in this survey and it is accurate, but also it might not be. That's essentially what CDC is saying. But also it might not be.
What is that?
we might have to wait until next year again. But I mean, no matter how you look at it, that severe drop in the green, undeniably a huge drop in vaping. Yeah. Huge.
And especially with smoking, I don't think that kids are going to pick smoking back up after they've I just don't.
Not a chance.
I mean, no, that's not fair. Because like there are plenty of adults. I dropped smoking and picked it back up. So
I mean,
that's not.
I've dropped smoking. I was a dual user.
That. Yeah. I don't know. I could see an increase next year. I'm not sure how big of an increase, but I would not be surprised if that happened. But I still think that this is valuable information.
I do too. Look, I do too. And again, that green spike is undeniable. Straight up, straight down.
Right.
Undeniable. Does that look like an epidemic?
Looks like a fad.
Does it look like a fad?
Yeah.
Because to me, it definitely looks like a fad. It looks like the exact graph that you would have for like high schoolers that were into Heeley shoes that have the wheels in them, you know?
Yep.
Be like, oh, we love it. Fuck it. We don't anymore.
Yep.
That's how it works.
Yep. Now we're bored.
Yep. Now bored
everybody's doing it and it's not cool anymore.
Exactly.
That is the mind of a high school.
All your friends are doing it. I thought there were some super chats that I missed that I wanted to make sure that before we get to another graph here. That's right. Sexy King Phil says, I had a doctor's appointment today. I told them that I vape and short term it's safer than smoking, yet they say vaping is worse in the long term. So wait, your doctor told you that it's safer in the short term but worse in the long term?
They don't have data for that.
No
one does.
Well, yeah. I mean, nobody does. We have 13
years
of
There is no long-term vaping
anecdotal
data, so you can't
evidence.
say it's worse.
Yeah, you couldn't possibly say it's worse. I hope you're feeling okay, Sexy King Phil. Nick Divine, bro. If vaping is a crime, lock me up. Throw away a key. There's no saving this one. Lol. Have a great night. Appreciate that very much, Nick. Hope you're building like a machine over there. That's Nick Divine. He's a legendary coil builder. Legendary. One of the first like innovative coil builders. Nick Divine. I feel stoked when he stops by. Fishy. Holy crap, very gracious of you, Fishy. Not a chance I'm going to stop vaping unless I choose to stop. More seatbelt. Yeah. Oh, that never gets old. I love the more seatbelt joke. But yeah, look, I definitely agree. There's not a chance. And it's like, Dimitri's been saying this for about a week now. They can't arrest all of us. They can't possibly arrest all of us. Vape shops, stay open. Keep selling. They can't arrest all of us. So it's time for civil disobedience.
Look at the war on drugs.
They would like to try, but would that be a good look of arresting ex-smokers for quitting smoking?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either at all, but I agree. Look, keep vaping. Keep vaping. Keep selling vapes. Keep vaping.
To clarify here, just using a vape is not criminalized anywhere.
Yeah,
so nobody is arresting you for vaping. If people are getting arrested, it's for selling it. That's where that's going to happen. So just FYI, there is no criminalization for the use of vaping at this point in time.
Yet. Give it some time. Give it some time, Danielle Jones. Got Tim with
Prohibition is going to prohibit.
That's what they do. It's in the name. Tim says, Yo, I dropped by to say, hey, headed to work. I'll have to watch later, replay crew. All right, Tim. Well, I hope you caught the replay. Shout out to you, my man. I hope you had
See you later.
I hope you had like an okay day at work.
Yeah.
You know?
Also, we're speaking to you from the future.
Or the past.
It depends on how you look at it.
Oh. Trippy, man. Trippy. Let's get another Danielle Jones graph out here because I like this one. A whole new generation hooked on nicotine. How long have we been hearing that myth?
Yep.
Most vaping experimentation does not continue beyond high school. Smoking rates continue to decrease in both high school and young adults. And we have this great chart used. This is National Youth Tobacco Survey data and NIHS data. Mm-hmm. You want to walk us? NHIS, yeah. You want to walk us through this chart?
Yes, that's what I was talking about earlier. So National Youth Tobacco Survey is the youths, right? Mm-hmm. And then National Health Interview Survey is for the adults. So it starts at 18 and up. Now, technically, there's 21, but anyway, it's 18 and up. So this graph was my answer to the gateway theory. That's basically what this is, right?
The gateway theory.
And so just a quick explainer. What you're looking at here is high school vaping and smoking and young adult vaping and smoking. So young adult is 18 to 24 years old. So the line bar part of the graph is high school and the bar graphs is young adult. And then I color coded them. So you can see high school vaping, 18 to 24 vaping, high school smoking, 18 to 24 smoking. Because what we would predict to see if there's a gateway effect is that there would be higher rates of vaping that would then translate either if it's a gateway, right, it would be higher rates of smoking later in life.
The green bar. That's what we'd see go up.
So when high schoolers vape, when they become young adults, they would be smoking. That's what we would see. And this takes time, right? Because when you're 16 in high school, it takes a few years before you become 18, 19, 20, right? But over time, if you kind of look at them, at a staggered look, that's what you'd see. But that's not what you see, guys. So what you see, so if we talk about just the blue for a second, again, the blue lines are high school vaping and the blue bars are young adult vaping. So what we see is high school vaping is very volatile, right? It's kind of all over the place. It's very up, down, really high up, back down again.
Almost faddish.
Right, almost
faddish, right?
But if you look at young adult vaping, while there is an increase there, but it is slow, it is gradual, and it is not volatile, right? It's a slow increase. that in fact is displacing smoking. So you look at the green and you look at the blue, and over time,
look at that.
Trading
product
places.
Substitution. Holy shit.
And they're staying low, right? So we're not seeing this crazy, we are seeing an increase in vaping, but it has never been anywhere near the high school rates, right? The blue bar does not get as tall as the blue lines do. That they don't. And what that says is when people leave high school, most of them aren't vaping anymore because it's just a thing they did in high school, essentially.
Maybe it was a thing they just did in high school because it was a fad, or they were, stay with me, cigarette smokers, and then they quit. I mean, that seems pretty plausible to me. I also feel like if the gateway theory was a thing, you'd see the green bars go up.
Yes, you would.
You'd see
people
the
would
greens
move
going
to smoking,
up, right?
Like what they said. But the green bars and the green line is going down.
Consistently going down.
Yes.
Consistently going down. And
young adult smoking doesn't go down as fast as high school smoking does. And there are potentially several reasons for that, right? First off, young adults, for the most part, up until recently at least.
Oh, hang on one
part
second.
of that, sure. Part of that age group is legally allowed to buy cigarettes, right? Once you're 21, and it used to be 18, but once you're 21, you can legally purchase. So you don't have the issues with access to these products that high school kids do because they cannot legally purchase. So we typically see higher smoking rates from young adults because they're able to legally procure their own products. So they have easier access. So there's just going to be some higher numbers there. That's usually why we see that. And I just completely lost my train of thought. Don't you love it when that happens?
Let me give you a hint. Vaping, high school, smoking. I don't know.
Very helpful.
Just trying to throw that out there. I didn't mean to throw you off track.
So young adult smoking is typically a bit higher. Oh, why we haven't seen such a decrease. So here's the other thing, right? We need to wait a couple years for the high schoolers who are now no longer smoking to age into the young adult group. That takes time, right? They have to grow. This is biology, right? We need time. So once they grow into that 18 to 24, then you will see that dramatic smoking decline, assuming it holds in high school. Because if the high schoolers aren't smoking that much anymore, then eventually the young adults won't be either because that's the same group, right? They get older and they move through the chart.
Yep.
So that's that essentially. But there is nowhere in here that you can see a gateway. That's just not a thing. You have seen some increase in vaping in young adults.
Right.
It's not crazy. And it's displacing smoking.
Right. Exactly. That's a good thing. If you're 18 to 24 years old, I want to see that vaping going through the roof. I don't want anybody using cigarettes. I want that green line, that green bar to just disappear.
Gone. Bye.
Completely gone. So I hate the reaction that people, it's like high vaping rates and everyone goes, oh my God. But if you're in the business or in the industry at all, or part of tobacco harm reduction, you go, oh, that's good. That's a good thing. More people vaping is better than more people smoking.
Right. And especially more people vaping and less people smoking.
And less people smoking. For them to convince me, for anybody to convince me that there is a gateway effect from vaping to smoking, I'm going to need to see a lot more smokers.
Yeah, no.
Loads more smokers.
They're not here. It's not happening. They're not here. Where are they?
You would have expected like 2019 to like take off with vaping, right? That's what we should have seen.
Right.
Or at least a little bit of a little bit of like a bump or something. But this is just
if
drop.
Smoking were going up in any way, shape, or form, they might have a point, but it's not. It's going down.
Consistently going down. Crazy consistently going down. So, whole new generation hooked on nicotine.
So that's my gateway myth graph. And then I have one more. Myth.
This is a good one that we will need some explanation for.
Yep.
This is and I also just want to say, Danielle Jones, I really enjoy that your graphs are the CASAA colors.
Thanks, I do it.
That's a very slick touch there. Very slick touch.
Branding.
Yeah, branding life. Okay, so this is something completely different. I've never seen a chart like this before, Danielle Jones.
Yes. So what we're looking at here, we are looking at, this is basically a bar graph, but I've split it into subsections so we can see. So on which side is this? The left, we've got at the top 9.13 million current adult vaping, right? So that's according to, and I want to preface this by saying, I know a lot of people feel like this number is low, like only 9 million vapors in the US. I get it. I feel that it is low also, but this is the data that we have, right? We don't have, you might feel like it's higher, but show me some data.
Yeah, we need data
that matches with like this is a data set that I have to work with. If you think there's a better data set out there, you let me know. But this is what everybody's using, so this is kind of what we need to use. So 9.13 million. Of those, I have color coded them for us. And this is, again, thanks to Dr. Brad. So within the 9.13 million current adult vapors in this country, we have the top blue chunk are the ones who are currently vaping and formerly smoking. So we can assume that they quit vaping with smoking. I think that's a fair assumption. Former smokers, current vapors, right? That's the top. That's I can't read my own thing in tiny. 3.95 million.
Yeah.
Right? Under that, we have people who are currently vaping, but in this category is tricky, right? So the CDC calls these people current vapors, never smokers. But that's not accurate, okay? Because in the CDC National Health Interview Survey, you are classified as a never smoker if you have smoked less than 5 packs of cigarettes.
Oh.
Now, in my opinion,
never smoker?
Never.
Oh, interesting.
Never smoker is 5 packs of cigarettes. That's not a never smoker.
That's not a never smoker. What else on earth do we measure never in the terms of like 5?
Yeah.
5 is 0. 5 is never. Okay. Up is down. Truth is okay. I get you.
So, because that could encompass social smokers, casual smokers, people who only drink with a glass of whiskey or smoke with a glass of whiskey. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, but when you're talking about common liability and like gateway, if somebody has smoked in the past, that's different than somebody who is like smoking naive, who has never, ever touched
never even lit up a cigarette.
Right. So to me, that's important. The CDC doesn't think it is, but I think it is. Mm-hmm. So I labeled this current vapors who are non-regular smokers. They might be never smokers or they might be infrequent smokers. That's what that is.
Okay.
So there are 2.74 million of those. And then our smallest section we've got is 2.44 million, and that are adults who are currently vaping and also smoking. So that's our dual users, right?
Oh, okay.
So of this bank of current vapors, this is the breakdown of what these people, what they're doing.
In that 9.13 million in the United States. All right.
Exactly. So that's your breakdown. Now I'm comparing that to, and the latest data we have for the adults is 2020. So I'm comparing that to the latest data that we have for the youths, which is 2021. Same thing here, right? So there are 2.06 million youth who have reported current vaping, which is to say any vaping in the last 30 days. Of those, only 810,000, so less than 1 million of them, are vaping what I would call regularly or habitually, which is on 20 or more days out of the last 30. So that's, if you vape one day out of the last 30, I'm sorry, you're not a vapor. Like you tried it a time, right? Like
they wouldn't consider you a cigarette smoker.
No, they would not.
They would consider you a never user if you've less than 5 packs.
Right. Where's you're a never vapor if you've vaped less than 5 pods? Where's that? I want that in there. Okay.
No, it's not.
Thank you.
Of course it's not. Why would it be in there?
Of course. Why would we apply the same logic to two different scenarios? To similar scenarios.
Two similar scenarios.
And so the reason that I made this graph is because I was watching last week the Connecticut hearing, and you had like Campaign for Tobacco Free Kids mouthpiece on there saying that, oh my God, maybe vaping can help adults quit smoking. Maybe. But that's not the point, because more kids are using vaping as an on-ramp to nicotine addiction than adults are using it as an off-ramp to smoking.
Right.
So it's not
That's
worth
what you
it.
Hear.
Right? That's what they say. It's
Bullshit.
Not worth it. And I heard that and I went, no. And so here is where I show
stop.
you. If you compare the dark blue little section, which is the kids who are vaping regularly, to the adults who have used vaping to quit smoking because we've heard crazy statistics, right? We've heard people in hearings say that for every adult that quits smoking, 80 kids pick up vaping.
Yeah, wasn't that a Bloomberg talking point for a while?
Have said this. And so what I am showing you is that the real statistic, I can't say that word, is for every one teen who vapes regularly, habitually, nearly 5 adults have used vaping to quit smoking. That is the real statistic shown by the data.
It's just the data. You can't argue with the data.
You can't, right?
You can't.
If you take 810,000 and you times that by, I'd say nearly 5 because it's technically 4.8 people. But what is 4.8 people? So I put nearly 5. If you times that by 4.8 or 5, you get the number of adults who have quit smoking with vaping. So do not tell me that the on-ramp is bigger than the off-ramp, because it is a lie.
It's just a bold-faced lie. Bald-faced lie. And that's something, oh my God. I'm so glad you did this chart. This is my new favorite chart.
It's my new favorite.
This is my new favorite chart, because all you hear is that adults don't use vaping. Right. Adults don't vape. There's no adult vapors. Oh, I mean, unless you look at all the CDC data, then there are 9 million of us and almost 4 million ex-smokers included in that.
Exactly.
God, that's upsetting. Look at that little dark blue 800, less than 1 million.
Right. And that's why we're banning things for all those adults. You see, all those adults.
All those adults get their product taken away for the little blue box.
And not even, they're going after the gray and the blue together. But even if you compare the totals together, or just the whole youth to the blue, still higher, right? 3.95 is still higher than 2.06.
Still.
In no world are there more kids vaping than adults. That's not a thing that exists in this universe. Sorry.
I'm so thankful for this chart. Yes. I'm sick of hearing that.
Please fight misinformation with this. Again, CASAA just posted these 2 graphs today on Twitter. So if you want access to them, they are on the Twitter. You can download them. Please make use of this information, because 100%. I am so sick of hearing the ants lie about this.
Yeah. I mean, the data's the data.
Yeah.
This is the data visualized. How do you argue with that? How do you look at this data and then with a straight face tell the public that, more youths are vaping than adults? It's not worth it. We're not going to save enough adult smokers' lives to have it be worth it for all of these youth starting vaping.
Right.
Bullshit. What I hate most about this focus on the youth while we're talking about the National Youth Tobacco Survey is you are a youth for the first roughly 18 to 19 years of your life. You spend the next 70 being an adult. But we're bending all of our rules for this predominantly adult-sized world to cater to kids that are only going to be kids for a very, very short time. And then they're going to be adults. And then they're going to have to deal with bending their adult world to fit the shape of the little Nerf world for kids. How do you discount, or how do you discredit and discount billions of adults for literally 800,000 youths that are vaping in the United States? Those lives are more important than the lives of literally billions of adults. Because
I disagree with you. Yeah.
That it's just infuriating. I know. It's a rhetorical question. I'm just being mad. I'm just being mad and vocal about it. Damn it.
I mean, I was mad, and so I was like, make it a graph.
Here we go. Graphs.
I rage graphed. That's what I did.
Rage graphed. Well, thank you for rage graphing. We're all better off because of your rage graphing. And again, huge thank you to Dr. Brad. These charts are on, these graphs are all on Twitter.
They are all
Get
on
'em,
Twitter. Check
download
CASAA.
them, share them.
Go to CASAA. One of them's on that first one that we went over with the little marching ants of cigarettes is my pinned tweet if you want to look at that. But the other two CASAA just posted today along with a link to this stream. So if you're here because you saw that CASAA tweet, say hello in chat.
Nice, CASAA. Thanks for helping out the TBN stream. Now, the last thing, the very last thing I wanted to mention, still in line with the National Youth Tobacco Survey. This is the data from the National Youth Tobacco Survey. And this is
the MMWR report that they put out, which is their report. This is not all the data that they collect, but this is what they have decided to present to the general public.
Yes.
What they think is important. Yes.
Yes. So this is high school, middle and high school overall combined, right? Here's a lot of this it does make sense to me. Sure, any tobacco product, 2.5 million, that's the number we've seen.
Right.
E-cigarettes, 2 million. So that means cigarettes are less than 500,000?
Yes.
400,000 kids are now smoking cigarettes? That's not even a quantifiable number.
That's the 1.5%. They claim similar rates of kids are using heat not burn products.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask about.
Aren't even available in the United States anymore.
This is where more questionable math comes into place for me, because you look at, sure, nicotine pouches. I guess I could see 200,000 kids using nicotine patches. Maybe. Really? Maybe nationwide. Maybe nationwide. But I think, I mean, I question, that seems unrealistic to me but this one, 170,000 kids using heated tobacco products?
There's not even one legally on the market here.
You can't buy them in the United States.
IQOS is having trademark drama with, they're off the market now.
They're off the market. And if you could get them when they were available, you'd road trip to Atlanta where they had their one, one flagship store was in Atlanta. Right. One of the 4 places you could buy them in the continental United States.
So what?
You mean to tell me that a middle school student somehow got a heat not burn product and then used it?
I'm going to call BS on that.
To the tune of 170,000 other kids using heat not burn products? That just seems completely bonkers to me.
Yeah, I would agree.
I mean, in a severe way.
Yeah.
Now,
there's a lot of people who have questioned this. Like, I'm sorry, what are you what?
Yeah. Wait, what?
We don't even think that many adults are using the product.
Certainly
How are kids
not.
finding them?
Yeah, certainly not. And I mean, heated tobacco products aren't flavored. There's no strawberry.
IQOS
There's
does
no
have
blueberry.
flavored heat sticks in other countries.
They do. But it's just tobaccos and menthols.
I think there's like blueberry and
berry. Really? Okay. I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, I looked into this. There are flavors. I still think it's very tobacco-y, but they do have characterizing fruit flavors in other countries. So if some enterprising young person bought some out of like the UK or, somewhere else, I guess. But how would they have even found out about it? Because nobody in the US even really talks about IQOS. It's not like it's on TV.
It's
like, where are you hearing about this?
The term heat not burn isn't in the like societal lexicon. It's not something that gets thrown around a lot. You don't hear heat not burn everywhere unless you run around in vapor spaces. But for the general like public proletariat, heat not burn isn't a term that's readily used frequently.
Right.
So if a kid came across this on the survey, did any of them go, what's a heat not burn? Like, what even is this? 170,000 kids.
Yeah. And you want to know something even more interesting than that? When they come across that question on the survey, I haven't looked at the 2021 questionnaire, but in prior years, they've only been asking about heated tobacco products for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
But what they do is they do this for all of the categories, but they say, have you ever used a heated tobacco product? And then they say examples of a heated tobacco product include, and they say right. And they list a couple, right? So I believe I was going down a rabbit hole. They list a couple things. I looked into all the things, and basically most of these things have not been on the market in the United States. They list like Glow, which is like somebody else's product that's actually
not
never
available
approved
in the United
here.
States, yeah.
I think they do list IQOS, which had limited availability, but not even anymore. And then they list like one or two other things. And the really interesting thing about this was those other product names that they list, one or two of them also happen to be popular names of cannabis vaporizers.
Oh, so like the Da Vinci was listed on there, probably the Mighty. There's probably some.
If you'll give me a second,
I will give you a second. I could see that being confusing if you're in high school and you've vaporized dry. Like that seems a lot more plausible to me that they're using a heated tobacco product for like cannabis flower than they are buying IQOS and heat sticks and then honestly learning how to use this overly complicated heat not burn product. It's not like a vaping pod or a disposable where you just pick it up and go, oh, this is nicotine now inside me. It's like, no, you turn it on, you warm it up, you put the thing on the spike, you warm it up some more, it'll flash at you, you get like 5 minutes of vape time before it expires and it vibrates and now you're done. You tell me that appeals to a kid?
Yeah. No, and so what they say is some brands of heated tobacco products include IQOS, Glow, and Eclipse. So I looked this up, right? So IQOS, we know who IQOS is, right? But the interesting thing is, so let's see, I have all this written down. So the survey first asked students about heated tobacco products in 2019, but they didn't put that out in their report, the results out. And then in 2020, they put out the results for 2019 and 2020. So basically, they started asking this question about heated tobacco products in 2019. The interesting thing is that Philip Morris received their PMTA for IQOS in 2019 and didn't officially launch the product until October of 2019 in Atlanta. Now, the National Youth Tobacco Survey is done in the early part of the year, in the spring. So they listed IQOS as a product. Are you using this when it was not legally available in the United States before it was legally available? Interesting.
Really interesting.
So for Glow, that is a British American tobacco product, launched in 2016 in Japan. But as far as I can tell, it has never been sold in the United States. Ever.
Never seen it.
In 2017, they said that they were going to file a PMTA for Glow, but it doesn't look like they ever did. So pretty sure that product has never been sold here. And then for Eclipse, that was an RJ Reynolds product that kind of bounced around. So in 1996, they had something in the 80s. They took it off the market. They brought it back in the 90s, launched it as Eclipse. They took it off the market. Then they put it back in 2000 and was in just like Dallas, Texas. A brief time in 2015. It was under another name. This is very convoluted and confusing, basically. But there's not, it's not very popular. They've taken it off the market and putting it back a lot. Let's see. They announced that they had gotten clearance from FDA on some substantial equivalency applications, but it doesn't look like they ever relaunched it in the United States. So not available. TLDR.
Not available.
But what I found is that there's something called Glow Extracts that is a cannabis cartridge and dry herb vaporizer. There is something called Eclipse. There's actually no less than 4 cannabis vaporizers called Eclipse that do heat not burn for cannabis. And the really interesting thing is on the websites where you can go, because I Googled this, on the websites where you can buy this Eclipse thing, it actually says, because they're trying to be sneaky and not, say this is a cannabis vaporizer, because cannabis is illegal, technically, they say it's for tobacco. On the bottom of the website.
Okay, yeah. Just to cover their own asses, I'm assuming.
Yeah. So my theory, and I have no data other than my own little brain, is I think that kids who said yes to these heated tobacco products were confusing them for cannabis products. That's my theory.
That's pretty realistic to me. That doesn't seem completely out of the realm of possibility at all. It's just a weird number to see, 170,000, and you go,
what?
Okay. Also, I'm probably wrong about this. Are these distinct enough category? Does it seem like they're double dipping here on data? Like we have any combustible product. Is that the math of cigars and cigarettes added together? Or is this like a separate
the way that, yes, it's basically
2 or more tobacco products?
Yeah. So what you have to keep in mind with this survey is when they say, here's the number of kids using cigarettes, that number could also include people who do cigarettes and vaping, for example, or cigarettes and, so there's overlap within categories. And then when they do this multi-category thing, they only pick the people who use 2 or more, basically, or any 2 of the combustible, or any 1 of the combustible. So it's like layers. They're doing different little, it's not, you don't add all those
It's like little
up.
breakouts.
It's little breakouts.
Right.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Little breakouts.
So any combustible product would be any kid who used anything that you light on fire, right? So a cigar, a cigarette, a pipe,
I getcha.
A bidis, I think, is a thing you light on fire.
Bidis? Yeah, bidis. I've always called them bidis.
I don't know how to say it. I know it's like a semi-obscure.
They come in a little cone.
Cultural.
I used to buy them all the time.
Product. Yeah, I don't know. I've never seen it, heard of it. I don't know. Hookah, technically you light on fire, so I think that's still considered combustible. So, the number of kids who use any of those.
Fire. Okay, yes.
I mean, I think they would consider that combustion, wouldn't they?
I don't know.
Hookah?
Probably.
Because that's smoke. What you're blowing out is smoke, right?
I think the way that it's done is...
Isn't it?
So I think I am not a hookah person, and I know there is a prolific use of hookah in the Los Angeles area, culturally speaking. Lots of hookah here, lots of hookah bars. I've seen it done where it's like what looks like aluminum foil, and then the material, and then aluminum foil on top, and then hot coals. Right. So it's a heat not burn.
Is it though? Because the coals are smoking. I
don't know.
If I took the survey in high school, I used to use hookah in high school, by the way. I knew how to pack a hookah bowl. I knew the whole situation.
Oh, so then you already know this. Is it combustion?
I don't know.
I gotta imagine there's like different versions, right? There's different models. Maybe there is some hookah that is combustion, maybe not.
It all works the same way.
We need a hookah expert to come on this stream and explain this to us.
I don't know if it's like... Because in theory, it is sort of heat not burn, but that coal is smoking.
It is smoking. It's a red hot coal. It's like a hot coal.
So I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know the answer either. I wish I did.
It is heating the tobacco, but I have seen, like when you unclean it out, there is can be some burnt stuff on the top. So I think it might be like a little of both situation.
Maybe it
I
is.
would talk to an actual hookah expert. I'm just someone who used it for like a year.
How do we track down a hookah expert?
I don't. I think you'd have to talk to a
Let me
public
know
health.
if you've run across any hookah experts that would be willing to come on the stream and talk about hookah. Hookah is combustion based, not heat, not burn, according to Rifleman. That's the one subject matter expert we have right now to go on.
That's what I'm kind of thinking, but I'm not I feel like there's components of both, because not all the shisha is getting like burned.
Right.
You know what I mean? There is some on the top that is, I've seen in my experience, but some of it is just getting heated up, I believe, because there's like a chunk of shisha that you put in the bowl, you know, and it is separate from the coal, right? Because like you said, you put your aluminum foil and then you poke holes in it and then you put your coal on top. I feel like it's a little of both. I feel like there's a little of both going on.
I'm going to do a deep dive into hookah right after this. In fact,
it was actually, I liked it a lot, if we're being perfectly honest.
I know we're going to end the stream in probably like 5 to 10 minutes. I can't hold it anymore. I'm going to go bio break, talk about hookah amongst yourselves, and I'll be right back.
Chat, what do you guys want to talk about? I've got the stream. I can't do anything crazy with it, but I've got it. What do you want to talk about? Does anybody in here use hookah? I mean, I liked it. I actually owned one for a hot minute. It's a lot of maintenance though. And packing a little shisha bowl is a bit of an art form, I discovered. I was taught by someone who was actually from the Middle East. So they were kind of like a pro in my opinion. So there's like a strategy and a technique to, you know, packing the shisha and how you do the aluminum foil and how you poke the holes and etc. I don't know if you guys ever got into that. All the hookah bars. That was pretty popular, at least when I went to high school in the Midwest. They were like the up and coming cool thing. I don't know if that's still that way or not. I'm just rambling. What do you guys want to talk about? I've only put the stuff directly on the coals. Was I hookahing wrong? You're supposed to put the shisha in the bowl. Okay. You cover the bowl with aluminum foil. You poke holes in the aluminum foil, and then you set a lit coal on top of the aluminum foil. So it's not technically touching the shisha, although the shisha on the top does get kind of toasted from what I recall, because it's, you know, close. But it's like a mound of shisha that you put in the bowl. So not all of it. It's like when you take something and you put it in the oven and you broil it. You know how the top gets crispy, but the bottom doesn't. It's like that. That is my experience. I don't know. But
I've never actually used a hookah. Never tried it. Never done it.
It was fun. I liked it.
I almost did in Las Vegas. The Mirage for a brief period had a strip side hookah bar that was like right on the strip. It was like a little loungy thing. And I used to go there and get drinks, but we would always just vape like crazy, just cloud chase with all the hookahs because nobody noticed because there was hookah clouds kind of everywhere.
For sure.
So we would just go to this bar where the hookah lounge was so we could just cloud chase like crazy. All right, I'm going to try a hookah.
I always liked it. It's fun.
I'm going to join the 220,000 underage youths that partake. 220,000 hookah users.
I mean, I was an underage youth that did hookah, so I'm not going to say that's not possible because me and all my friends did it. So
the nicotine pouches is questionable. Heated tobacco products is really questionable. Even 80,000 pipe tobacco? That seems so so weird to me, right?
What high schooler is using a pipe?
What high schooler is using a pipe? At school, in the bathroom, at lunch? He just sits down with his tray and he's like, so just lights it up at the, in the cafeteria. Pipe tobacco.
I don't even know. I know that some of these are cultural. Like, for example, hookah is very popular with
cultural.
People of Middle Eastern, descent, right?
Sure.
The Beaties one, Beaties, I can't remember what culture it comes from, but it is also a very cultural oriented one. I feel like that's right. Maybe. I've only learned about it recently.
BDs, pronounced BDs, hand-rolled cigarette. It just says plant. BDs are manufactured in India and other Southwest Asian countries and exported around the world. So primarily India. Yeah. BDs.
So I understand that some of that is cultural. So you're going to have a little bit, right, from people whose family members, right, do it or whatnot. Because, you know, that's a thing, right? If your parents do something, there's a higher chance that you're probably going to do it. So, okay, sure. I'm not with the pouches or the heated tobacco products. So I'm sorry. I don't believe that.
The only reason that those stand out to me is so if a cigarette smoking youth switches to vaping to get their nicotine, that's one thing. If a nicotine naive youth hits a Juul like 4 times in a row to get a buzz, that's a very different thing. And nicotine pouches really only cater to youths that are cigarette smokers. You don't get like a nicotine buzz from a pouch.
No,
you just don't.
No.
So maybe. I mean, 200,000 seems really high to me too. Crazy high.
Again, where are they even finding out that these products exist? It's not like you've got famous television characters using them, right?
You know, kids
all that
in the
happened
social
with
media
vaping,
and the TikToks.
Right? Yeah. It's not like you've got YouTube channels dedicated to different pouches, right?
Yeah.
Like that's not a thing. So where are they finding out about this exactly?
Yeah. You know, I don't know. Here's the
either.
thing. Kids are dumb and don't make any sense. And I always just think of this one example. I had a friend in high school and he had a younger brother. And my friend in high school, he had a Jeep. And on his Jeep, he had a sticker that said sex wax, right? Surfboard wax.
Okay, yeah.
Makes no sense. Just called sex wax, and it's like their logo. Threw it on the Jeep.
Yep.
We come home one day to find his younger brother, who's like 9 or 10, in the driveway with a screwdriver carving sex wax, the words sex wax, into the concrete.
Okay.
And we're like, what are you doing? Like, like, why are you doing that? It's like, I don't know. Like, did you just see it on the Jeep? He's like, I guess. It was at that moment that I came to the conclusion that all kids are dumb. All kids are dumb. He just saw that sticker on his brother's Jeep and was like, I'm going to go carve that into the driveway with a screwdriver.
Yeah.
All kids are dumb.
And you best believe that there are at least probably 100 kids who get that survey at school and they just go through and they pick a column and they just write all the, they don't read any of the questions.
Super
they
unreliable,
just say yes
right?
to all of it, right? And there's even a technique wherein the survey givers basically ask trick questions in order to weed out people like that. They'll say are you 500 pounds? Yes or no? And everyone who says yes is probably not paying. Or are you 1,000 pounds? Right. No people are 1,000 pounds.
Something ridiculous.
Right. Something ridiculous. And if you say yes, they toss your survey because that was basically your test of are you paying attention?
Are you paying attention?
And if you're not, no, thank you. To my knowledge, the National Youth Tobacco Survey has no such catch system.
How do we get our hands on a youth survey? I want to take it.
Oh, they're online.
Are they online? I want to see the questions they ask. Did they? And so I do want to wrap this up, but they still don't ask about specifics, correct? They just say,
what kind of specifics?
I don't know, what you were vaping. No delineation between like THC or nicotine. Is that still a non-separated thing? Yeah,
it's a little confusing, and I'd have to look.
Shocking.
They used to mention something about marijuana, and then from what I recall, they stopped. So that was interesting to me.
Okay, why would they stop that? I don't know. It's the CDC. Who knows what they're doing?
Yeah, I'd have to look because I can't quite remember all the questions, but I have them downloaded, and you can look through them. They're there. You can see what they're asking. And the interesting thing is they ask a lot more questions than what they put in that report you just pulled up.
Yep.
So that not all the data is in there, right?
Yeah. Well, and that leads me back to the UK where they do a National Youth Tobacco Survey, but they don't call it that. And it's actually on a much larger scale than we do.
Yes, much more youths.
Many. I don't know the exact numbers, but it is on a much bigger scale than we do.
I think so. The National Youth Tobacco Survey does anywhere from like 14,000 to like 19,000 students. That's their sample size. Because again, they don't give this test to every kid in the country, you guys.
And they
this is not a one for one. Right. They give it to like 20,000 kids, and then they say, okay, based on really fancy math, that means that this many people use these products throughout the United States.
That 2.5 million number is basically just the educated guess.
Right, exactly. It's a guesstimate based on fancy math. For in the UK, I checked this, and their sample size is like 30,000 or like 60,000. It was a lot bigger than what the US does. And a bigger sample size always makes for more accurate data for the most part, assuming it's quality, bigger sample is better. Ours is smaller than theirs. I don't remember the exact numbers, but theirs was.
I remember it being substantial. Yeah, I remember it being substantial. Like when you saw the numbers of the UK tobacco survey, I was like, "Holy shit! Was that the whole country?
Yeah,
every kid in the whole country. It's unbelievable."
It was a lot.
But they didn't come to the same conclusion that we did, despite our numbers being basically the same, and them doing a bigger survey. They don't have a youth vaping epidemic like we do. It must be some weird British physiology thing. Can't explain it. Yeah. Unexplainable. Well, look, you guys, I think that's going to wrap us up today here for TBN and the National Youth Tobacco Survey. China's still going to be a thing that I'm sure we're going to continue to talk about and report on, but I would say the sky isn't falling right now. It's been proposed, but it's like I think there's too much up in the air to make a decision. It's not even an official piece of like document legislation yet. It's literally just a proposal, and the idea that China's going to self-police the entire world of vaping seems
a little weird,
wholly unrealistic to me.
Yeah.
Wholly unrealistic to me. That, and even if there was a worst case scenario that everything in China happens, we suddenly can't get anything, no vape gear from China, would that be the end of the world? Or do other countries also make and sell vape gear?
China definitely makes the most.
China sells, disposables, pods, sure. Literally everything else for the hobby market isn't 100% dependent on China. Maybe for boards, chips, for your boards for your stuff.
It wouldn't be great. It wouldn't be great. But again, you can still, like, the countries that do allow it are going to see a boom in the number of warehouses that people want to suddenly create in there. You know what 100%. I mean? Or like they're going to partner with other companies. Like they won't buy from China. They'll buy from a distributor in the UK. You know what I mean?
Right. Who buys from China?
Right. Like there's a way around. Don't completely freak out. Just, be alert and attentive.
Just be aware.
Yeah.
Just be aware, be educated, knowledgeable. That way, when things like this happen, it's not like a crazy surprise.
Right.
And if
it gives you peace of mind, buy a couple extra mods. I did that just to make sure that I always had a mod around with me. You can do a little bit of stocking up if it'll make you feel better. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the end of the world. The businesses will appreciate it.
Yeah, the businesses will appreciate it.
We're not going to start a, toilet paper, chaos. Like that's not going to happen.
Toilet paper,
I'm not worried about that. You guys could stock up a little if it would give you some peace of mind, and if you can afford it.
Yeah. I don't know. I have such, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I have less worry about China than I do about every state in our republic banning flavors and taxing it out of existence before China can police the hardware world.
I would tend to agree with that. Yeah, I would be real shocked if it went a different direction.
Same. I would be shocked if it went in a different direction. Unbelievable. Well, that's the news as we see it, I guess. Anything else you want to throw in there at the end, Danielle Jones? I can't think of anything.
I think I'm good.
I'm tapped out.
Check out the CASAA YouTube.
Check out the CASAA YouTube. Go subscribe. Saturday live stream. Stay informed. I guess I do have one announcement here at the end of TBN for anybody that's still here. TBN is, we're going to take a little bit of a break. we've been going real strong for what feels like 2 straight years now without any real substantial breaks. My birthday's coming up on April 6th, and I usually take a YouTube break right around my birthday. And the way that TBN happens to fall is it's basically going to be a month without TBN. We're going to be back from starting today. We'll be back on April 19th. Today is the last TBN until April 19th. And the reason is we just need a break. The third reason is we would like a break. The fourth reason is it's going to be my birthday, and I won't be streaming or doing much around that anyway. And my buddy from high school is coming into town and staying with me for a few days. We're going to go see some punk rock shows. It should be real fun.
Nice.
So there's some things going on. So just rest assured, TBN is not going anywhere. I love this stream, and I love having Danielle here, and I really believe in what we're doing. Despite having lower viewership than the rest of the vape world, I feel this is really important, and I love doing it. So TBN will be back with a vengeance on April 19th. So hopefully nothing happens between now and then.
And if it does, you guys, if you're missing your TBN, go check out CASAA in the meantime. They do it every week, every Saturday. There's replays up on their YouTube. Go check it out. You can get your weekly dose of advocacy.
You don't get GrimmGreen.
You don't.
The reason that we're all really here.
I mean, it's true.
I'm sorry, I couldn't even.
You don't get his
say that with a
cute
straight
little
face
and mispronounced words. That's not on CASAA. But you get advocacy information, and you get the wonderful stylings of Alex. Our
Alex,
CEO.
dude. Alex is dreamy as hell. You should be watching him
dreamy,
anyway.
He's
Between
funny,
Alex and Logan, you guys have like banter and it's great.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great stream. So check out CASAA while TBN's on a little bit of a break, but we'll be back because I don't know if I can speak for Danielle, but this is the hill I'm dying on, and I'm going to continue to promote harm reduction and attempt to motivate vapors into advocacy until forever. Until we're at a place where we don't care about the National Youth Tobacco Survey. I want to get to a point where we go, the National Youth Tobacco Survey came out, doesn't matter, no one's smoking. That's where I'm looking forward to getting. So that's where we're going to go. So thank you guys for hanging out. I appreciate you guys being down for the cause. I always say this, but the TBN stream, it's definitely not for everybody, but it is for the people that it is for. And the advocates, the activists, you want to get educated, knowledgeable. It's TBN, baby. It's not for everybody, but for those that are here, fucking love you. You're down for the cause, and thank you, and that means a lot to me. So, with that said, goodbye for now from everybody here at the TBN studios, I guess, and we'll see you in about a month, you guys. Just about a month. It's like we won't even be gone. So we're going to say goodbye. I'm going to wave and say goodbye, and I love you all into the ground. Keep fighting the good